Hello, everyone. We are stationed in Cancer. We're receiving that moon transmission now. My sign is Cancer, so Cancer can sometimes be a little weird and wiry for me. And so today I'm just kind of keeping it light and yeah. I wanted to talk about the awareness of self. And, the self is something that is almost indescribable because we change and evolve every day. But our core root, the integrity to who we are, at least in my experience, those things don't shift, but in a way of more awareness, like the innate nature of who we are stays with us when we're born, and it's really cool. It's like it comes here with us and we are activated within it to see it as we get older. And the outside world programs us, uh, and it subconsciously distracts us from our innate nature, but we don't realize that that's what's happening. And the channel will continue to whisper the signs of creativity and our true nature to us. And it's when we listen to that internal voice versus thinking that internal voice is when we align with our divine light. And it's not always easy, like we have years and years and years of subconscious mind programming from everything we've experienced, we've touched, tasted, smelt, talked to, thought about, heartfelt, all of those things have programmed our holographic story of our subconscious mind in the way that we flow. And when we recognize that, every day our minds are being programmed still by but we become aware that we can take control of that somewhat ourselves. And that's when we awaken, the veil gets removed. We start to see through the illusions of things that we've been told and we thought and we saw. And yes, that can be very crushing to the humanistic ego, and it can also be crushing to the subconscious egos of those around us. That's why a lot of times when we go through our awakening, or we see who we are internally, we let go of a lot of the friends and family members, that we've had, even if it's just short term or long term, because we are stepping outside of the light in which those people have also seen us as well. So we have to recognize that during this process, to be light with ourselves and to take it easy in the way that we project our energy, because other people are reflected of that also. And what's so great is that when we realize that we don't have to fight in this humanistic experience anymore, we don't have to mind box with other people's brains, it becomes a lot easier, and we get to choose the rhythm of the frequency that we want to flow within. And so when we become aware of ourselves, meaning the fact that there is a channel that gives us guidance that we listen to, while we also as a human get to think and create and find solutions and things like that, it really clears the space of not carrying the attachment to the humanistic ways of other people on our shoulders right here, which affects right here. In this life, I have discovered that if I'm not happy, I am creating that unhappiness. Yes, there are things in the outside that trigger that happiness within myself, but I don't blame anyone else. This is part of the humanistic experience. We can choose to be involved in certain situations with certain people and certain things if we want. Making excuses is something that I recognize when I do it, and it's not of a normal practice. Like, I work to not make excuses for my behavior. I work to not make excuses for the things that I see and feel and think, or the things that I see and how I think and feel about them. Because, we as humans are very influential in who we are within our human. And those around us are picking up the signals that we project. as we pick up the signals from those around us. And so if you're not feeling great around people that cause to give you those vibrations, the wonderful thing is that we don't have to remain with those people. We get to invite in who we want. Like in this life, why would we not spend time with people that make us feel great? That seems like the logical thing, right? Well, in this life, we are all programmed and we all have things that we are letting go of. And I guess really it's more about picking those that understand and see the same vision and flow of integrity, the philosophy of life that we flow to. Integrity is a big thing for me. And um, integrity also involves being authentic to who we are and to be mindful of those around us. A lot of times we get caught up in the swirls of the outside world that affects our internal selves. And I know, I mean, I go through the swirls in my brain. The outside world pulls on me a lot, and I feel really comfortable and complacent in my inner astral world a lot of the times. And I know that there has to be a balance. So, but I keep my, I work through my frequencies internally, not to project onto others. And then, of course, to discuss things along the way. So, um, I talk a lot about things that trigger people. I get that. And I talk about a lot of things that people don't understand, and that triggers people also. And so, I've been very fortunate that I haven't experienced a lot of backlash from other people often, but I do, and I recognize that. And a way to set a different frequency, a way to hold space for people is to not give that energy back. Like someone can come on a post or someone can call me names, and I'm like, I see it. I don't let it trigger me. And if I feel the energy, if I feel a surge come from it, I don't attach mental thought to it. I don't give it my energy unless I want to, unless I want to engage with that person, to hold space, to open up their minds so that they can see that they can be comfortable and talk to me. I mean, in this life, we have gotten so jaded that when someone comes to us with something that is different than the way we feel, we tend to get aggressive in our demeanor and response, and that is not a normal flow. It doesn't match up to the internal flow, the natural rhythm that we're born in. So that lets us know that it's really it's a subconscious mind program. I mean, it's not normal to scream and call each other names and be hateful. That's why it doesn't feel good. That's why it doesn't feel good, because it's not a realistic approach to humanity, although it is our approach. So we have to embody both of those. We have to embrace both of those aspects. Like everyone wants to live in a perfect world, but this is perfection. It is the way that we make it. It is what we choose to put our energy behind it. And so, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of energy to hold space for continuing excuses. I don't give it to myself. Therefore, it's difficult to take it from others because, when you are open and mindful and aware, you read energy and you know what I'm talking about. And you can read through the tones and the words and the body language. And so when you're a sensitive empath, or we all are empaths, if you are tuned into your empathy, then you understand what I'm talking about. It's not easy to be around someone or people or things that pulls on our energy in a way that doesn't lift us up and that doesn't create this nice, natural, flowing state of being, which is really in the void, the stillness, the meditative state of mind, which is without feelings of happiness or sadness. To me, a meditative state of mind is being so present in the moment and so aware of what's going on to just sit and watch without feeling anything. That is from That is from internal wisdom pools. That's not from perception. So, if someone lashes out at you and it makes you feel angry, it makes you feel mad, stop and take a look and listen and see what that person is saying if it resonates. Maybe there's a message there. There always is. And that message sometimes is to recognize that we don't have to flow in that light with people anymore. And so, people will get upset and get mad if you don't continue to engage in the things that they do, and that's okay. That's their trigger. It's their issue. And I look at it this way, like if I feel at peace within myself and the way I've interacted with someone, I don't have to give that person my second time of energy. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. And the reason why it's so powerful in that is because when we continually feel like we have to explain ourselves to people, we lose who we are and we don't get to evolve. We don't get to expand and create because those people are keeping us in a light that's not even our own. Or maybe it used to be and they're just picking up on it as a reflection to themselves. And so, it's just about recognizing things, recognizing that each human has its own program. Each human has its own set of situations that's caused them to think, feel, react in their own ways. And, but also remembering that we all feel the same. Everyone on this planet knows what happiness is. Everyone on this planet knows what anger is. Everyone. It's only the situations that keep us separated. And so when we recognize that we all feel the same way, that there are just other influences that causes us to react. Maybe someone had a really crappy day that day and you came in to trigger them for that moment and you don't realize it. Like if we stop taking everyone and everything so personally, it becomes heaven. It's like magic. And it's not that, and not a lot of people, but I have heard that, well, you just don't care, or you act like you don't care, or whatever. Well, I care, but I don't. Like, it's like the thing I say, like, I love so much that I don't give a fuck. Like, it's like that thing. Like, I love you, I see you, but I don't have to give you my energy. We don't have to do that. I'm a Cancer. I have always been a very nurturing, overly giving person. Making sure that everyone else was okay. Appeasing everyone else's energy versus focusing on my own. And I know a lot of people do that. When we have that innate nature to be healers, we want to, so badly for other people to see themselves that we can lose ourselves. So in the balance of sharing who we are, in the balance of speaking our truths, just know that just like with anything else, there's always a little rumble in the ground when there's change, when there's shifting. But it's about how we stand in the rumble and how we recover from it. And every day is a new situation. Every day is a new person. Every day is a new thought process. Every day is a new moon cycle. So everything changes, like everything changes every day, every moment. And I guess I'm just in a place of wanting to like shake everybody and be like, stop, like get out of your minds. It's not like that big of a deal. We're human. That's a small portion of this experience. Like a nano portion of this experience. And so we are given this body, we are given this vessel as a gift. I am learning to love my body. I'm learning to take care of it to higher degrees, and it all begins through our thought processes. We make ourselves sick by our thoughts because our thoughts are feeling, it's energy in motion. That's why when we're happier, we feel better because the neurotransmitters in our brain and in our body are sending higher signals of serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and all of the things that work to heal and to maintain longevity in the body. Sadness, depression, those things make the brain stop moving as it normally would. Like, this is literally on a molecular level we're talking about. Like, Take your emotions out of it. Take the humanistic past experiences out of it and just get within the physical. And recognize that this engine fuels the rest of this engine. You can be brain dead and your heart will still beat with a monitor, but you can't keep this thing alive. The heart knows what to do. It's the brain that we must condition. Because if not, the world will condition it for you. And that's what we're waking up to. We're waking up from the conditioning of what was, and we don't have to take things so seriously anymore, but as serious as we want. Like now my choices are like the things I'm serious about is my longevity and my happiness. That's it. And everything else aligns after that. Like we don't have to fight so much in the outside world to get what we're already feeling on the inside. If you weren't already feeling what you were seeking, you would not be feeling it. It's already there. All we have to do is tap into it. There's a book that I started reading that talks all about the brain, the body, and emotions. I read a little bit about it online in a video the other day, which I posted on YouTube, and it's called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. This book right here, this book is blowing my socks off, and I am not even finished with the first chapter. Like, I'm blown away that a neuroscience, neuro doctor is talking about the mysticism of the pineal gland and the brain and how literally we make ourselves sick due to the illness of our own thought processes. And in this book, I talked about Anna. And Anna is a real person that came to his workshop that was about to die with cancer. And she cured herself through her thought processes. Just by elevating her frequency and taking care of herself, she cured her cancer. And so, and Anna's, situation in this book is not the first one. I've seen a lot of things about it. And just in my studies alone, like, I encourage, like, if you can't get through your sadness, if you're like, Lori, I can't figure out what's wrong with my mind. I can't get right. I don't know what to do with myself. Get out. Just put that to the side and focus on healing your brain. What can I do to heal my brain and body? How can I stimulate my brain to a higher frequency? Study those things and start practicing those. Just work on healing your vessel and everything else will align. It's pretty cool. We don't have to, if we're giving our attention to something that makes us feel in a way that does not align, that does not feel good, we don't have to continue to give our attention to it. We don't have to problem solve it. You can literally go, ugh, I'm tired of dealing with that. Let's move on. Because it'll come back if it needs to be dealt with. It's just that simple. I do it all the time. Now I recognize that it's not me. Sometimes it is, but I recognize it's the outside influences. If something is going on in my mind and I can't bring myself back to a state of happiness, I'm like, Lori, this is not your natural state of being. This is just a process. Like, and I look at it from the outside. Like I literally remove myself from my own things, my own thought processes. I analyze myself so that I can move on. It's like I transcend stuff so quick right now, just like a boss, like it's just I feel so empowered by my own ability to create the longevity of my happiness. It's our humanistic right. That's why we're here in this experience. That's why we feel and think so that we can create and love. It's not about living in anguish and being worried and, being fearful about this or that. If you're fearful about something, change it, and then the fear won't be there anymore. It's that simple. Living in the line of excuses doesn't work anymore. Well, it does. Excuses work because it gets us to where we need to be. It's just what kind of excuses are we making? How big are they? What does it make us feel like? Like, literally, we can't take our minds seriously because it's not just us in there. It's not just me, the Lori, the human that I've known since I've been born, even though I don't even know who she is anymore, because I've evolved. We're evolving, we're being reprogrammed. We're being rewritten. And it's great. And we are the steerer of that wheel. We're not in control of it, but we steer it. And so recognizing that this is a co-created experience, allows us to have the peace that we need within. There are days when I'm ready to leave this plane. I am over the humanistic experience. I feel like I have reached a level within myself that I feel totally content. I feel like I have elevated to a place where I'm really happy. And if I were to pass on tomorrow, I'm cool with that. I have reached that pinnacle within myself. So I recognize that the outside world can feel like a struggle because I have reached that place within myself. I do have the awareness that feels comfortable for me. And so, we all go through the ebbs and flows of energy, of moon transmissions based on the signs that we're in, and that affects the psyche. The human brain, it literally stimulates and pulls on the brain. You got to think about it this way. Think about full moons and new moons and the effects it has on the tides in the ocean. Well, what do you think the effect it has on the human body, the human brain? We have water and liquid and fluid and energy and electricity in us just like that. And so if the moon transmission and the sun affects our atmosphere, it affects our human vessel also. So when you study how you feel in each moon sign, you get to predict the energy that is ahead. That is the power of being a magician in the stars. It unlocks the key to magic, is to see that we are receiving something much greater than who we are. It's not just about this human experience. Like, who are we just as humans in this big, spectrum of creation that we're in, the dimensions of internal consciousness that we travel in and out of all day and night? Like, you can't just sit around and say that this is a humanistic experience, although it is, because it's ours. It's a co-created experience. Everyone around you, everyone you engage with every day, you are open to receiving their energy. So be mindful of the energy that you are open to receive. When we recognize that we don't have to deal with the things that don't feel good to us, we get to activate and literally regenerate our DNA to crystalline, to higher levels of awareness, and literally on a physical molecular level, we become healthier beings. It is a galactic ascension that we are experiencing. It is happening to us. We are participants in this spectrum of creation. We get to choose to grab the wheel and steer it, as I talked about just a few minutes ago. We can activate ourselves higher within the connection to the astral, and we do that through our thought processes. That's it. You can start with thought processes, clearing out the space of the swirling humanist stuff that doesn't feel good, to push the curtain back, to push the veil back, and peek in the inner world, which goes through the outer world dimensionally. The pineal gland is the gateway of travel. It is how we go back and forth to the other sides. Dr. Joe Dispenza even talks about it in this book. He was activated to understand the pineal gland as well, in a sense that he could tell that our brain activity had something to do with crossing over to the other side. If you've taken psychedelics, you know what I mean. DMT pushes us over to the other side of the veil. And I have been activated, as I know some of you have been, that are channeling directly through that open channel now. I cast, like I can let go and I start casting automatically. I start signing magic and things like that. And so it's like a natural flow of DMT is always there. And anyone can activate themselves to that level. I feel, where we live, what we eat, what we drink, everything has influenced our brain frequencies. So it's literally dependent upon the brain tissue. Listening to sound tuning, eating healthier, anything that aligns the frequency and allows energy to flow more natural in the body is how we stimulate the brain. There are third eye activation exercises that we can also do. I can sit and push. I can sit with my own thoughts and push energy to the center of my forehead and instantly get my third eye swirling. And it does it all the time without me having to do it. So I don't push to do it often. But when I'm sharing exercises with other people, um, we can stimulate our own third eye. It's really, really amazing. We can stimulate the pineal gland. Um, and it's just all about thought projection. Like you can literally push the energy of your thought, your brain, as like, well, it's easier if you close your eyes to start out with. And if you imagine yourself pushing all of your energy to this spot and imagine that you're going to make it start. So you're going to feel that deep swirling, push and push and push in that brain energy. It will begin to take place. Now, not that it'll happen instantly, and it may take a lot of work. Some may get it within a couple of days. Some may get it within a couple of months. There's all kinds of things. Like I say, each human has its own individual program, and the things that we've been exposed to affects our brain. Like, eating really poorly, eating a lot of processed foods can affect the brain as well. A good sign to tell how active your pineal gland is how well you sleep. The pineal gland is not just some mystical thing. It actually has a function in the human brain and in our lives, and it creates melatonin, which we need to sleep. The melatonin tells the brain it's time to go to sleep, get some rest, and when the melatonin wears off, we awaken. Well, if you look into ways to stimulate the melatonin production in your body, that means you're stimulating your pineal gland. And so if you focus on how to stimulate your midbrain, that's where the pineal gland is located. That's how you stimulate your third eye. And so there's all kinds of physical things that we can do. And listen, activating the pineal gland is not just to be connected to this like astral mystical world where we get to, whatever. It literally is healthy. It provides longevity for the human body, for the human experience. So it's all around a positive effect, at least into my knowledge at this point. And so if you study ways to stimulate your brain, you will stimulate your consciousness, your mystical abilities, and all the wonderful things that we all talk about and want to experience more of, and things like that. So, sun gazing also assists with activating the pineal gland, and that is because the eyes have a very special role to see into the soul, into the consciousness, into the brain of another. And there's a reason for that. The sunlight stimulates the brain because the eyes, there's a nerve that connects to the back of the eye that creates movement, and it's connected in the brain, in the midbrain, where the pineal gland is located. So if you are outside in the sun, and by the way, sunglasses are hindering your brain activity. I know some people are sensitive to the light, and that could mean that your pineal gland is more calcified than others, or, always go with discernment and the way that you feel. But there's all kinds of ways. Like I did not realize that the sun played such a huge role in our brain. And so if you are wearing sunglasses all the time, you're not getting that natural activation in your brain. You are covered, like they say, oh, what about you? What about sun, UV rays and all of that? Well, you're not staring at the sun all day. You're not on water reflecting up on your eyes. And so really it's just about learning what feels good for you. At sunrise and at sunset are the best times to sun gauge because you can look directly at the sun. And when you do, you'll see that it's not a sun at all. It's a portal. And it's this beautiful swirling pink, purpley, gray looking thing, which is pretty neat. But during the day, when the sun is high and we can't look at it, the eyelids are very thin for a reason. You can go outside and lay in the sun just like this, if you have a sensitivity to light, And it hurts your eyes to look at the sun. Even at sun gazing, you can close your eyes. Your eyelids are thin for that reason, so that the brain can get the activation from the natural sun. And so 2 years ago in 2016, I just was automatically, I stopped wearing sunglasses. And I soon after that recognized it was because I needed to get those photons for my brain. And also, when I sun gaze, when I'm done, I close my eyes and I can see how active, how open my pineal gland is. This beautiful green light shines through, and it's the heart chakra color, because it's almost like we see through the pineal out through the heart. Like, it's pretty incredible. And so I know that sun gazing stimulates the pineal gland because I see a lime green aura. And when I'm done sun gazing, 30 minutes or an hour later, I'll continue to close my eyes and see that light diminish because the pineal gland is closing back. And so it's pretty incredible when we get down to the molecular science of our anatomy. We can see how much control we have over the longevity of our vessel in ways that we didn't even recognize. So, and if you think about it, it makes sense. Like, there's a saying that if you live like in Washington State or up north where there's a lot of snow in winter, you don't get a lot of people can tend to be more sad, or they don't, because they're not getting enough vitamin D. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because the brain isn't stimulated by the sun enough, that the neurotransmitters aren't firing to excrete those higher levels of dopamine and serotonin and all of those things that create happiness within ourselves. And so having that recognition, knowing that if you live somewhere where that happens, that you can create other ways to stimulate those same ways in your body. And you can do that by sound tuning. And, there's lots of other ways to do it. And so I highly recommend researching how to stimulate the brain, how to stimulate the production of neurotransmitters in the body, and go from that. I mean, it's incredible the amount of power that we have as a human, and we didn't even know. We didn't even know. And so it's cool to come full circle and just be like, boom, I can do anything I want. And it all starts with our thought processes, because our thoughts create who we are. I love you to the moon, family. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you're having a great weekend, and or you have a great weekend. And every day is a new cycle. Every day is a new transmission, and we receive and send so much on a daily basis. We're being activated. We are being galactically pushed, pulled to transcend and ascend. So we can either fight it or flow with it. And personally, I like flowing a lot better.